Hi there. I've had a couple requests to talk a little bit about how alcohol affects weight loss. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, if you've got more than 30 pounds to lose, you need to avoid it completely because it's just going to undermine your efforts to lose a significant amount of weight. If you really have to have a drink, limit it to 1 or 2 times a week, 1 or 2 drinks per time. But really, you need to avoid it completely until you get down closer to your maintenance weight or your goal weight. It has much greater effect on our bodies than just calorically speaking. Now, you can certainly Google however many calories your drink of choice provides, but the thing is, our bodies treat it like a toxin, and it wants to process or metabolize that alcohol before anything else. We can actually get energy from that alcohol, so it'll want to process that alcohol before it processes the other energy we've taken in or other food we've taken in. So those I'll go put on the back burner. So all fat burning gets put aside. You store the rest of it as fat as much as you can, and starts trying to use or metabolize the alcohol for your energy. We all know that takes place in our liver, right? So it has an effect on not just adding calories to our body, but delaying how our bodies process what we're eating. So when you're eating and drinking at the same time, you're really heaping it on. Now, hormonally speaking, it actually can lower testosterone and increase estrogen, or affect the estrogen to testosterone ratio in our bodies, which makes it more difficult to add muscle and burn fat. It can actually help cause us to store more fat. Estrogen is a fat storage hormone, fat storing hormone, and fat becomes a estrogen receptor. So let's talk about beer, for instance. Beer was a combination of alcohol and wheat, right? You put those two things together and you've got a recipe for belly fat, right? Beer belly. So that beer belly, right, really not that masculine, because it becomes an estrogen receptor for your body. So you can actually be increasing the amount of estrogen in your body just by carrying around that beer belly. So yeah, I love a good microbrew, but beer puts weight on anybody, and it is just a recipe for belly fat. Now, alcohol does take a while for our bodies to process. It's not just gone when you stop noticing or feeling any the relaxing effect. It can take up to 10 hours to process alcohol in our system. So that can affect your metabolism and your hormones for that 10-hour period as it dissipates. Let's take, for instance, at night, most of us would have a drink in the evening, right? Typical dinner time or after dinner, the nightcap. Really not a good time because it has such an effect on sleep. Now, I'm not telling you to day drink, okay? Not advocating that. But if you're going to have a drink, try to give yourself enough time to metabolize most of it. So like 4 or 5 hours before you go to bed, okay? Because it does throw off our sleep cycle. It throws off the neurotransmitters in our brain. So the things like melatonin, serotonin are actually, they get out of balance. And our adrenals are actually stimulated. You have two nervous system systems. You have a parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, your sympathetic nervous system is what you have going during the day. Okay, so this is not just your nerves. This is your hormones. This is your adrenals. Makes you active. It wakes you up in the morning. They kick in. Get you going, bring your heart rate up, get your brain functioning, and keep you active, okay? And then in the evening, when it gets closer to time for you to rest and relax, the adrenals come down, and you get the more relaxing hormones getting released, ideally, like serotonin, and like I mentioned, melatonin. Many of us have supplemented melatonin to help us sleep deeper. Okay, so that's a neurotransmitter that helps us relax. Well, when you drink alcohol, okay, it's a depressant, right? So it's depressing your body's systems. having trouble saying systems today. Depresses your system. So in order to counteract that, keep you from just laying on the floor like a slug or going into a coma, your body increases its adrenaline. Okay, so your sympathetic nervous system kicks in higher and starts going a little longer than it normally would. So your adrenaline comes up to counter the depressant of alcohol. Okay, now it may make you go to sleep a little sooner right off the bat. But as that alcohol begins to get metabolized and processed and decreases in your system, your adrenals are still going, okay? And then you reach a point where the adrenals kind of overtake that alcohol because the alcohol is being processed, right? And they're still going. And all of a sudden you wake up. It wakes your brain up. So if you probably experienced it, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden you're wide awake. What's going on? You're thinking about everything you got to do that day. And it may take you a while to get back to sleep because your body's like, okay, I got to rebalance here. I got to rebalance these adrenals because the depressant's not here anymore. I'm supposed to be sleeping. So the adrenals have to slowly back off, and it can take some time. Usually, it's, about 45 minutes before your alarm is supposed to go off. So it can really disturb your sleep, both from the adrenals, from the neurotransmitters that are supposed to be going, like serotonin and melatonin, throws those out of whack. Again, that scientific term, out of whack. It also can affect our appetite hormones. There's a hormone called ghrelin, which stimulates our appetite. It makes us feel hungry. Okay, ghrelin, growling, right? Hunger. You've probably heard of, the typical hangover breakfast, if not experienced it, is usually a craving for like greasy, starchy food, kind of a Waffle House kind of morning. And that is partly affected by the stimulation of the ghrelin and throwing off your sleep cycle. If you throw off your sleep cycle, it's going to affect your appetite as well. Usually if you're tired, your reflex, your tendency is to eat more and eat more starchy stuff to put more energy in your body. It's a lot harder to burn just fat when you're exhausted. And the ghrelin, you add the ghrelin to that, you just got your hormones working against you. Now, of course, it's in varying degrees. You don't have to have a hangover to want to crave more food. It doesn't have to be the full-on Waffle House, morning after. It happens in varying degrees. So even if you have 2 or 3 drinks, it could still affect an increase in appetite and a disturbed sleep have any effect on your body's cravings. So I know that's a lot of sciencey stuff, but think about it. If you're going to have a couple drinks, pare them back to earlier in the evening to give yourself time before you go to bed to process most of it. Obviously not 10 hours, but at least 4 or 5, and keep it to a minimal level. 1 or 2 drinks, so that you can actually process those. Have most of it processed before you hit the sack. All right, feel free to ask questions. I know there's a lot there. If you have any suggestions like this one, please post them below or message me. I'm happy to take suggestions. I love suggestions. Until later.